The harsh reality is that most people, including loved ones and even ourselves, have a hidden talent for manipulating others, often without even realizing it. This insidious ability stems from a complex pattern of silently leveraging emotional vulnerabilities and subtly triggering insecurities, allowing individuals to control and influence those around them. You might be able to think of someone in your life who always seems to know exactly which buttons to press in order to get you to act, or say, or feel a certain way. In this video, we'll delve into the unspoken strategies and tactics that people use to hijack emotional investments and exploit the deepest, darkest fears that lie within us, and I'm about to share a candid look at the patterns that have been hiding in plain sight all along. We often see people use silent insecurities as a means to tap into others' emotional vulnerabilities, creating an unconscious attachment that gives them a subtle yet effective control. These puppeteers typically target individuals with a deep-seated need for validation, manipulating them through a delicate dance of guilt and validation that reinforces their hold. Notice how insecure individuals will often use others' insecurities to validate their own fragile sense of self-worth, illustrating the complex web of emotions that fuel this toxic dynamic. When we're drawn to someone with an unstable sense of self, we're not just attracted to their charm, we're also unconsciously seeking a sense of security that can temporarily alleviate our own deep-seated fears. The most insidious puppeteers are those who've mastered the art of subtle, psychological manipulation, exploiting our darkest insecurities and using them to justify their own sense of control and validation. Their methods may seem innocuous at first, but the consequences of being entangled in this web of silent manipulation can be devastating, gradually eroding our sense of self and robbing us of our agency. Emotional hijacking is often rooted in deep-seated insecurities that people struggle to acknowledge, even to themselves. When we're desperate for validation, we're more susceptible to the subtle manipulations of those who wield emotional power. These manipulators aren't interested in our true emotions, but rather in creating a sense of dependence on them to regulate our feelings. We're drawn to the people who trigger our deepest fears, and often rationalize this attraction as something positive, when in reality it's a cry for control in our lives. Their ego is feeding off our emotional response, using our insecurities as a means to inflate their own self-worth. Self-deception is a key player in the game of emotional hijacking, allowing us to deceive even ourselves about the true nature of these relationships and the manipulative tactics being used against us. The most insidious forms of manipulation occur not through brute force, but through carefully crafted triggers that exploit our deepest insecurities and vulnerabilities. People with a hidden agenda often use their charm and charisma to disarm us, making it almost impossible to recognize the subtle manipulation that's taking place. What starts as a genuine attraction can quickly deteriorate into a game of psychological control, where one person uses their power to dictate the terms of the relationship. Behind every push for validation lies a deep-seated insecurity, a nagging fear that one's worth is not being acknowledged or appreciated. This constant pursuit of validation becomes a Trojan horse for emotional manipulation, allowing the controlling partner to chip away at the other person's sense of self-worth. The most cunning manipulators know that the key to total control lies not in forcing their will, but in cleverly sowing seeds of self-doubt that slowly erode the other person's confidence and resilience. When we allow self-deception to creep into our relationships, it becomes a master manipulator, warping our perceptions and distorting reality to fit our deepest insecurities. We often pretend to be more secure and confident than we feel, not because we're trying to project a better image, but because we desperately need others to validate our sense of self-worth. Behind every charming smile or seductive move lies a desperate cry for connection and love. We're drawn to people not just for their qualities, but for the sense of security, acceptance, and validation they can provide. The real motive behind many manipulative behaviors isn't to control or dominate, but to cope with our own feelings of powerlessness and inadequacy. Our insecurities are so entrenched that we'd rather hijack others' emotional vest than face our own emptiness. To truly see past the facade, we must confront our own ego's insatiable need for approval, recognition, and validation, for it's only by acknowledging the depth of our insecurities that we can begin to free ourselves from the toxic patterns of manipulation. Manipulators often exploit vulnerabilities in our psyche by targeting those aspects of ourselves that we've learned to hide from, like childhood insecurities or past traumas that still linger within, feeding on our silent fears. The moment we become too emotionally invested in validating someone else's worth, we sacrifice our own emotional agency, and they seize the reins of control by manipulating our insecurities for their own gain. Behind the facade of romantic or friendly gestures lies a hidden agenda, a calculated attempt to infiltrate and claim ownership of another person's emotional space, exploiting the natural human desire for connection as a means to exercise control. Those who consistently seek validation through external sources, rather than cultivating self-confidence, become susceptible to being influenced by individuals who know exactly how to activate our insecurities and manipulate us into serving their own needs. By fostering a deep sense of emotional dependency, manipulators create an invisible web of power dynamics that we unknowingly surrender to, often under the guise of genuine care or affection. This web is anchored in our deepest insecurities and fueled by the fear of being abandoned or left behind. When we become so intensely focused on earning someone's love or approval that we sacrifice our own authenticity, we open ourselves up to the subtle art of manipulation, where the lines between attraction and control become perilously blurred, ultimately forcing us to confront the unsettling reality that our deepest vulnerabilities can be hijacked and exploited with devastating ease. Thanks for joining me on this critical exploration of the hidden patterns of manipulation. Remember, being aware of these silent insecurities and subtle triggers is the first step towards breaking free from their control. So I want to hear from you what resonated with you today. Be sure to like, comment with your observations, and subscribe for more in-depth content on human psychology.